On the island of Bali, the sea has always been the home of demons and evil spirits. The gods live up in the mountains and active volcanoes. It's a Hindu world where good and evil coexist. The people who live here feel the presence of the gods and spirits around them every day. Their art is like an offering to these gods. In fact, on Bali, art and religion are almost the same thing. Even though many things are changing on the island, their arts are still very much alive. Bali is about the size of Wales, and on it there are more than 10,000 temples which are used every day. All these temples are highly decorated. And here, only 6 degrees south of the equator, where wood rots and limestone crumbles in a few years, the gods are constantly recreated. Everyone on Bali is an artist of some kind. Every child learns to sculpt or paint, to dance or play music almost before he can walk. But because of the interest from tourists and art collectors around the world, painting is now the most popular art form among the young boys. They're widening their techniques with new materials like acrylic paint, but their subjects and styles are still very much concerned with life around them on Bali. With the massive influx of tourism, it's not surprising to see new subjects cropping up, like cars and cameras. But for people who've always feared the sea, surfing is something else again. Surfing is an international cult with a language and lifestyle all its own. It's also a dangerous sport which takes years to master. But on this island, the boys have brought to the sport a style and agility which has allowed them to come a long way in a short time. One of the reasons for their quick progress is dancing. It's something most of them have been doing since they were 5 or 6 years old. Anom, who's 11, is practicing the baris, one of the 50 different Balinese dances. His teacher leads him through the movements of the baris again and again, so that the spirit of the dance will enter his body. The baris demands so much agility, it's a dance for boys, not for men. And by the time he's 18, Anom will be considered past his best. Anom has never actually been on a board before, but like all the kids his age, he was dying to have a go. And Bobby, one of the best surfers on the island, gave him a few instructions before taking him out into the breakers. Learning to stay on the board whilst trying to get through the breakers is the first and most frustrating stage of surfing. Anom's sense of balance learned from his dancing helped him, despite his Balinese fear of the water. As a surfer, Anom still has a way to go, but as a dancer, he's already one of the best on the island. Traditionally, the baris was danced by a group of warriors before battle. But now it's become the male solo on the island, and is performed at village festivals. The dancer's face must reflect the stylized emotion of the warrior, from fury to compassion. And in the baris, the dancer leads the orchestra, rather than the other way round. Surfing started on Bali in the early 70s when Australians and Californians came looking for the surfer's dream, open space and unridden waves. Surfing magazines began to talk about the perfect 10-foot swells, and soon surfers came from everywhere. Within 2 years, the Balinese were surfing alongside some of the best in the world. One of the first was Yoman Radiasa, who's usually called Bobby. He works in Wayan silversmiths, making jewelry for the tourists.
Hey Bobby, how often do you do this?
Oh well, I have to make the vessel of this ring, the spool ring. Well, it takes about, I don't know, about 15 minutes.
Yeah, how often do you do it? How many times a week?
Well, actually I could done it 2 days, one ring, something like that, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is this how you make your living?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Well, plus, you know, work for something else, like selling stuff or something.
What sort of stuff?
Well, rings, those things, you know. The stuff which well, my boss done and sell it for him.
Who's your boss?
Well, this guy.
What's your name?
Wayan.
How long has she been doing jewelry?
Well, over 20 years.
Is this how you went to Australia the first time, selling this?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But, well, most of the bread, my friends give it to me. You know, I mean, lend it to me, and then I pay them back after I work there.
Yeah.
I have to work there again.
You worked in Australia?
Yeah, I did.
What
yes.
did you do there?
Well, work in a factory here in Convercable.
Doing what?
Oh, operate one of the machine.
Yeah. That's how you survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess so.
Bobby learned to surf in these breakers in front of his house. The waves aren't the biggest on the island, but they have a nice shape, and you can ride them to the left or to the right. Bobby leads with his left foot, and like all surfers, he prefers to face his wave, which means riding to his right. Falling has always meant swimming a couple of 100 yards to collect your board. But in the last 5 years, the leg rope has revolutionized surfing and allowed the Balinese learners, who can't swim, to spend hours practicing. Surprisingly, some of their parents are beginning to get interested too.
Everybody likes now because they know that it's kind of sport and they're interested to ride it on the wave. You see, they really enjoy it, you know. This kind of show when all the old people sing this, all the young surfers ride on the wave. You know, they especially when someone who ride a very, very good wave, they said, wow! Everybody said, wow! Before I always surf daytime, afternoon, morning. Yeah, I surf a lot. So I think I have to leave something, you know, like I leave surf for a while. So I go on a business, open up the shop. I want my brothers and sisters to know a bit education, you see. That's why I have to leave surf for a while and then go on a business. Just to improve the families. So, but still I have time in the afternoon, if there is good wave, I'm still surfing too.
Shops like Darsana's, where you can hire surfboards, buy clothes and Balinese art, have begun to spring up all over this part of the island. Surfing is becoming big business. Maybe not as big as the air-conditioned tourism on the other side of the island, but the influx of dollars is changing things. With 30,000 tourists a month, Bali could change faster than any other place in the world. But most things are very much the same as they always have been. The boys may now be surfing, but they're still performing the old dances, like the Barong trance dance. And even when it's in front of the tourists, the trance and the knives are real. The Balinese have never liked traveling. And 5 years ago, these kids would never have left their own village. But already they're dreaming of waves. And in search of the best, they'll get together any sort of transport and follow the experienced foreigners across the island. Today, the big waves are breaking 25 miles away off the cliffs of Uluwatu.
Okay, let's have those bikes.
A major factor in surfing is the wind. It has to blow off the land to lift and give good shape to the waves. On an island, if it's blowing onshore on one side, it has to be blowing offshore on the other. So now the boys are following the wind and seeing parts of Bali they would never have seen before. The people of Uluwatu find this new interest in their coast rather strange. This remote peninsula has always been a very sacred place. The few people who live here respect and fear the waters off their cliffs. It was only discovered to be a surfing paradise in 1972, and until then, no one would have dreamed of going out to the big waves over the reef. Just to reach the cliff top, there's a 2-mile walk. To the locals, Uluwatu is a dangerous and mysterious place. But to the surfing world, these are some of the finest waves anywhere.
You're on board, right?
Hey, Shindet, watch out. I know, baby. Oh, God, you put things in it. Let's go down, man.
Man, you have to cry.
No, man. Ada pun. Ada. Mana ombaknya? Lo kawan gedean ucapan nih kawan. Ucapan gedean ya. Yang. Wih gede coba no. Wong kancu.
For foreigners, getting here means a trip of 1,000 miles and a struggle down the cliff. For the Balinese, it's been a journey out of 1,000 years of belief. For the 2 million people on the island, the sea around them still remains the home of demons and evil spirits.